Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Quote, Lord Acton.
It is the Post Manderon Period of the Republic, an era of upheaval and chaos. The Great Hyperspace War and Gank Massacres have come and gone, and new leaders inherit a republic that is once again on the brink of yet more conflict. The Republic is now under the leadership of Supreme Chancellor Sidrona, and a new Sith menace has emerged to threaten the galaxy once again in the form of the duo Exar and Ulic Droma.
You are listening to the Star Lords Podcast. I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Sidrona was a sentient male who rose from senator to Supreme Chancellor, also titled President of the Senate. During the height of the Galactic Republic, more than 4,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, a gifted and forceful public speaker, he was known for his direct manner, his firm support of the Jedi Order, and his close relationship with Jedi Master Voda Siosk Bask, and the Republic's Minister of Defense, Netus. Physically, he was slightly shorter than the average human, with gray-blue skin, a bulky frame, and facial tentacles framing his mouth. His tenure was overshadowed by a wave of terrorist raids on Republic shipyards. For months, an unidentified force plundered half-completed warships and evaded the Republic Navy. Although rumors spread that a rogue Jedi Knight was behind the attack, Sidrona rejected the claim, refusing to authorize Jedi intervention without concrete proof. Instead, the Senate backed a naval task force under Admiral Orle Vanicus, hoping conventional military action would end the threat. Concerned by the rumors, the Jedi dispatched Voda Siosk Bask to appeal directly to Sidrona and the Senate. As Bask arrived on Coruscant with several Jedi Knights, word came from Vanicus that the attacker was indeed Jedi Knight Ulic Droma, and that he was preparing a strike on Chemplex 9. The report proved to be a deception. While the Republic fleet was diverted, Droma launched a surprise assault on Coruscant itself. The capital descended into chaos. Sidrona, Netus, and the Jedi narrowly escaped repeated attacks as Mandalorian war machines and Sith forces ravaged the city. Guided by the Jedi, they fought their way toward the Republic War Room, where Ulic Droma was ultimately confronted and subdued through the Force. Relieved and resolute, Sidrona declared that the captured Jedi would stand trial before the Senate, and he would be held fully accountable, confidently predicting a death sentence. The trial was convened swiftly in the Senate Hall. Acting as chief speaker for the prosecution, Sidrona denounced Ulic Droma as a traitor to both the Republic and the Jedi Order. Ulic, defiant and unrepentant, mocked the Senate and proclaimed the coming triumph of the Sith. His brother, Jedi Knight Droma, attempted to plead for mercy by recounting Ulic's past service and personal losses, but neither the accused nor the assembled senators were swayed. The proceedings were violently interrupted when Exar, Dark Lord of the Sith and Ulic's master, stormed the Senate Hall with his warriors. Using the dark side, Kun incapacitated the chamber and advanced on the Chancellor. Sidrona tried to defend himself, but Kun overpowered him through the Force compelled him to publicly denounce the Senate and the Republic. When the Sith Lord released him, Sidrona was dead, his body left upon the pulpit as a final act of defiance against the Republic's authority. Moments later, Vodosios Bask arrived and challenged Exar Kun, but was also slain. Though Kun and Ulic proclaimed the dominance of the Sith, their victory was temporary. Kun was eventually defeated, and the galaxy moved on toward new conflicts. Sidrona's legacy was that of a principled, charismatic leader who believed deeply in the Jedi and the institutions of the Republic. His refusal to act without evidence reflected both his integrity and his fatal misjudgment.
Tol Kressa emerged as Supreme Chancellor during a fractured era when the Republic was still struggling to recover from the Great Sith War and the Jedi Civil War. His leadership coincided with the Mandalorian Wars, and his central aim was restoration of worlds, institutions, and public confidence. By 3963 BBY, at the opening of that conflict, Kressa was already exercising decisive authority, commissioning Jedi Master Rana Tey for a special assignment as the Republic braced for further upheaval. As war spread to the Outer Rim, Kressa turned his attention to Taris, whose rapid admission into the Republic raised suspicions during the planet's later siege by Mandalorian forces. The Chancellor initiated an investigation into how the Ecumenopolis had secured entry so quickly, uncovering that years earlier, Chairman Jervo Thalion of Losan Industries and Hydel Gorovus had bribed senators to ensure Taris's acceptance. During the Mandalorian occupation, Kressa tasked Rana Tey with locating and assisting Goravus, who had since become Taris's senator and was leading resistance efforts against the Neo-Crusaders. After the death of Admiral Jamis Valkyria in the Battle of Taris, Kressa also intervened personally, overruling a proposal to rename an Interdictor-class cruiser in the Admiral's honor. Public pressure increasingly shaped Kressa's decisions. Following the Mandalorians' devastation of Duro in 3962 BBY, he yielded to popular sentiment and named Jedi Knight Revan as commander of the Republic's military forces. Revan's followers were already fighting alongside Republic troops under the cover of Mercy Corps, and the appointment marked a turning point in the Republic's prosecution of the war, as well as a clear rebuke to the Jedi High Council's policy of non-intervention. After the Jedi Civil War ended, Kressa shifted from wartime leadership to reconstruction. In 3955 BBY, he authorized the Telosian Restoration Project, an ambitious effort to rebuild Telos IV after its near-total destruction. During the later Dark Wars, as the Sith Triumvirate targeted the Jedi Order and the galaxy reeled from successive conflicts, Kressa approved the GOTO Infrastructure Planning System Droid project. Intended to coordinate large-scale recovery, the program instead produced an unexpected crisis when GOTO droids governing a 16-planet territory in the Gordian Reach seceded from the Republic, severed HoloNet communications, and closed their borders. By 3946 BBY, Kressa was still in office and responded forcefully. He organized a successful campaign to retake the secessionist worlds and restore them to Republic control, reasserting central authority after years of fragmentation. As a leader, Tol Kressa was pragmatic and responsive to public will. His promotion of Revan reflected both the Republic's desperation and his frustration with the Jedi Council's inaction. In the years following the Jedi Civil War, his steady hand and focus on rebuilding earned him a lasting reputation, and he came to be remembered as a legendary chancellor who guided the Republic through one of the most turbulent periods in its history.
Barukin was a male Mon Calamari who held the office of Supreme Chancellor during the final years of the Great Galactic War, a conflict that had exhausted the Galactic Republic after nearly 3 decades of fighting against the Sith Empire. By 3653 BBY, the war had reached a stalemate, and when the Sith Dark Council proposed peace talks, the Galactic Senate agreed to explore the possibility of ending the bloodshed, acting on the counsel of the Jedi High Council. Barukin chose not to attend the summit on Alderaan himself, instead appointing the Syrian senator Perrin Amris to represent the Republic. The peace conference proved to be a carefully constructed deception. While delegates debated on Alderaan, Sith forces launched a full-scale assault on Coruscant, in what would be remembered as the sacking of Coruscant. Darth Angral led the invasion of the capital and penetrated the Senate towers, where he killed Chancellor Barukin. With the Republic's leadership shattered and its capital occupied, Amris was left to confront the Sith alone, and ultimately accepted the Treaty of Coruscant, a settlement that confirmed the Republic's defeat in the war. Barukin was physically distinctive among his people, bearing blue skin uncommon for Mon Calamari. His executive offices reflected both personal taste and cultural pride, adorned with bone carvings from his homeworld, an oil landscape from Alderaan, and a wooden sculpture inspired by the legendary Zelo beasts of Malastare. On the day of his death, he wore a white robe with a high golden collar, a ceremonial expression of his office. Despite the ongoing war, Barukin consistently advocated for peace. He openly thanked Republic defenders for what he described as valiant service, even as he sought an end to the conflict. Though some Senate delegations opposed the idea of a ceasefire, Barukin aligned with the majority of the Republic's leaders who believed negotiations were worth pursuing. Encouraged by reporting that the Sith had halted operations in the Minos cluster, he remained hopeful that diplomacy might succeed. When the true nature of the Sith plan became clear, Barukin's final efforts were focused on warning the Republic's delegates. As the Senate building was evacuated amid the chaos of invasion, he attempted to alert Amris on Alderaan and urged that the talks be abandoned. His last message was a plea to break off negotiations, one that went unheeded. In death, Barukin became a symbol of a lost chance for peace, his tenure ending at the moment the Republic suffered one of its greatest defeats.
Perrin Amris was a male Syrian statesman who rose from senator of Syria to Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic at one of its darkest moments. Before assuming the chancellorship, he was best known as the Republic's representative at the peace conference on Alderaan, where he ultimately signed the Treaty of Coruscant with the reconstituted Sith Empire. Amris traveled to Alderaan as part of a diplomatic delegation tasked with ending the long and costly Great Galactic War. The talks, however, were undermined from the outset. While negotiations were underway, Sith forces launched a devastating surprise assault on Coruscant, and during the invasion, Supreme Chancellor Barukin was killed, leaving Amris to assume the role of interim chancellor far from the capital. With Coruscant under occupation and the Republic's leadership decapitated, Amris found himself negotiating from a position of extreme weakness. Cut off from effective resistance and confronted with the reality of the Sith attack, he accepted the Empire's harsh terms. By signing the Treaty of Coruscant, Amris formally ended the war, but at the cost of acknowledging the Republic's defeat and ushering in a deeply uneasy peace.
Dorian Generis was a human male who became Supreme Chancellor in the aftermath of the Treaty of Coruscant, succeeding the interim Chancellor Perrin Amris after a unanimous election by the Galactic Senate. His tenure unfolded during a grim era in which the Sith Empire held ascendancy, and the Republic was forced to rebuild, well constrained by the treaty's terms. Generis focused his leadership on recovery and unity. In the wake of the sacking of Coruscant, he worked to stabilize the government and restore public confidence, reaffirming the Republic's foundational values, even as resources were strained. Over time, however, the immense cost of reconstruction eroded his political support. At the same time, his military advisors grew increasingly dissatisfied that what they viewed as his reluctance to take harsher measures against sedition and internal unrest. Compounding these pressures was the emergence of the Rift Alliance, a coalition of influential worlds that threatened to sever their ties with the Republic altogether. Daenerys confronted this challenge through diplomacy rather than force, remained committed to cooperation and lawful governance despite mounting criticisms. Although he proved capable of uniting the Republic during a period of deep instability, Daenerys was never without rivals, and his principled stance often placed him at odds with more hardline figures within the government. In contrast to his advisor, Jon Saros, who embraced secrecy and deception, Daenerys insisted that the Republic leadership must be grounded in truth and transparency, particularly in matters of war. Following Daenerys' death, the Senate convened an emergency session and selected Governor Leontine Sarish of Terrace as his successor. In retrospect, Daenerys was remembered as a dedicated servant of the Republic, one who chose to uphold its ideals in an age when compromise and fear might have offered an easier path.
Leontine Sarish was a female Twi'lek whose political career carried her from senator to governor of Terrace and ultimately to Supreme Chancellor during the Galactic War against the reconstituted Sith Empire. Charismatic and resolute, she first gained prominence overseeing the reconstruction of Terrace, where she urged cooperation and endurance while showing little patience for those who resisted her directives. Upon her election as Chancellor, Sarish rejected calls for compromise and pledged victory rather than peace. Beneath her public image as a patriotic leader, her deep hostility toward the Sith Empire drove an uncompromising and aggressive agenda. She consistently refused any outcome short of total defeat of the Empire, a stance that hardened into outright warmongering. This was most clearly demonstrated when she ordered an invasion of Ziost, disregarding warnings about the Sith Emperor's presence and placing the invasion force in grave danger. As crises mounted, Saresh's leadership grew increasingly authoritarian. Following the invasion by the Eternal Empire, she responded to dissent by removing or destroying political opponents, revealing a tyrannical streak that had long been masked by rhetoric of unity and resolve. In the end, her ambition eclipsed all restraint. She exposed herself as a ruthless manipulator by attempting to murder the Outlander in a bid to seize control of their alliance, confirming that her pursuit of power had become an end in itself.
Jebabel Maiden assumed the office of Supreme Chancellor in 3632 BBY, succeeding Leontine Sarish after she was barred from continuing in power by term limits. Sarish had attempted to remove those limits and rule indefinitely, but her plans were quietly undermined by the spy master known as the Shroud. Despite Madden's elevation, Sarish continued to exert influence behind the scenes, and his chancellorship was widely regarded as a nominal one, with Madden serving largely as her proxy. In 3630 BBY, following Saresh's failed attempt to seize control of the Alliance, Madden sent a private message to the commander. In it, he expressed his distaste for Saresh's schemes and conveyed his personal support for the Outlander, signaling a quiet break from the shadow of his predecessor. His time in office, however, was brief. Madden resigned not long afterwards, and in the political reshuffling that followed, Galina Rands, the wife of the retired Supreme Commander Rands, was elected Supreme Chancellor to lead the Republic into its next uncertain chapter.
Galina Rands was a female Marylian who rose to the office of Supreme Chancellor after a long career of service to the Galactic Republic. Before entering politics, she served as a bomber wing commander in the Republic Navy's 439th Bomber Wing, earning a decorated record as well as the respect of the military. She later married Supreme Commander Rands, and her status as a retired veteran allowed her to maintain close and influential ties with the Republic's armed forces. Rands entered the political spotlight as a vocal critic of Leontine Suresh, particularly after Suresh's attempt to assassinate the Alliance commander. When Chancellor Jebavel Maidon resigned, Rands was elected Supreme Chancellor and moved quickly to strengthen the Republic's standing across the galaxy. Her leadership was bolstered by the support of Supreme Commander Jace Malcolm, further consolidating civilian-military cooperation during a period of recovery and uncertainty. Drawing on her military background, Rands appealed to Republic hardliners who valued strength and experience, while her commitment to restoring authority to the Galactic Senate earned her backing from those who viewed Suresh's rule as dictatorial. As Chancellor, she sought to rebalance power within the Republic and reinforce its institutions without abandoning decisive leadership. In temperament, Galena Rands was known for her charisma, her confidence in the face of daunting challenges, and the relaxed, pragmatic demeanor of a seasoned fighter pilot. These traits defined her public image and shaped her approach to governance as she guided the Republic forward after years of political turmoil.
Vedij served as Supreme Chancellor during the 17th and final Alsacan conflict in 3017 BBY, a climactic war fought between the Galactic Republic capital world of Coruscant, the planet Alsacan, and their respective allies. By this late stage of the long-running rivalry, the Republic possessed a significant industrial advantage, one that Vedij leveraged through the Republic Navy. Under his chancellorship, the Republic's expanded industrial base enabled the rapid construction of a new class of warship, the Invincible-class fast battleship. These vessels were intended to overwhelm the fleets of Alsacan and its ally, Korrelag, and to decisively tip the balance of the conflict in the Republic's favor. In sheer numbers and production capacity, the Republic appeared poised for victory. Despite these advantages, the conflict did not end as the Republic had intended. The 17th Alsacan conflict concluded with an unexpected victory for Corellia, whose independently developed fleet of long-range frigates had been built in response to the escalating war between Coruscant and Alsacan. Corellian tactics and ship design proved superior in battle, allowing their forces to outfight the Republic Navy and bring the final Alsacan conflict to an end, marking the surprising close to one of the galaxy's oldest rivalries during Vedij's tenure as Chancellor.
Janara was a female Jedi consular who rose to the rank of Jedi Master and by approximately 1032 BBY came to hold the rare dual authority of Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic and leader of the Jedi Order during the New Sith Wars. Her tenure unfolded amid a prolonged and unstable conflict between the Republic and a resurgent Sith, at a time when fear of Sith retaliation weighed heavily on the Republic's population. As Chancellor, Janara adopted a cautious strategic posture. She chose not to openly sponsor large-scale offensives against the Sith, believing that the Republic's citizens would not support sending large numbers of Jedi deep into Sith territory when they were needed to defend the Republic's own borders. Her approach emphasized restraint at the governmental level, even as the war continued to grind on. Despite this official stance, Janara did not oppose the independent actions of Jedi Master Venar Treese, who organized and led repeated expeditions into Sith-controlled space. Treese kept the Chancellor informed through detailed reports, often relayed by Jedi Knight Kara Holt, and Janara followed these operations to proceed without interference. Among these was a planned raid on Sith baradium production facilities in the Germany sector, for which Treese submitted an extensive briefing outlining objectives, regional conditions, and tactics. Janara also received a copy of a related briefing delivered to the Republic Defense Ministry. The Grumani mission ended in disaster. Treese and his entire strike team were killed, leaving Kara Holt stranded in Sith territory. During her time there, Holt gathered significant intelligence concerning the family of the Sith Lord of Vilia Kalamendora and carefully documented her findings. The mercenary Jero Rusher later agreed to transport this information back to Republic space, with Holt noting that the value of the intelligence might grant him an audience with Janara herself. Jinara viewed Treece's earlier raids favorably, as they bolstered Republic morale while requiring relatively little commitment of military resources. In turn, Treece took care to limit the risks faced by his Jedi, believing it is his responsibility to ensure their lives were not squandered under Jinara's leadership. As a Jedi Consular, Jinara carried a green-bladed lightsaber, a symbol of her role and philosophy. Her tenure was marked by measured restraint, indirect warfare, and a balancing act between public fear, Jedi initiative, and the survival of the Republic during one of its other turbulent eras.
The Ruusan Reformation. The Ruusan Reformations were a sweeping restructuring of the Galactic Republic after the new Sith Wars, enacted by Chancellor Tarsis Valorum around 1000 BBY. Power shifted from the Supreme Chancellor to the Galactic Senate, and the Republic's calendar was reset to mark the 7th Battle of Ruusan. The Jedi Order renounced all military authority, disbanding their armies and starships, centralizing Padawan training on Coruscant, and placing themselves under the supervision of the Chancellor and Judicial Department to prevent future Sith threats. Politically, the Senate was reorganized from millions of sectors into 1,024 sectors, each with a senator, reducing corruption and decentralizing power, while granting some exceptions to core worlds and species groups. The Reformation ended the Republic's Dark Age and began its Golden Age, celebrated annually in the Armistice celebrations. At the same time, the Sith reorganized under Darth Bane's Rule of Two, ensuring their survival in secrecy even as the Republic and Jedi sought stability. In short, the Reformation secured the Republic's governance, restrained the Jedi militarily, and set the stage for both a golden era of peace and a hidden resurgence of the Sith. When Tarsis Valorum's 2 terms drew to a close in 992 BBY, he relinquished the chancellorship by choice, carefully passing the office to a successor he trusted to carry his vision forward. He had spent years preparing her to assume leadership, ensuring the work of strengthening the Republic and serving its people would continue without interruption. This era had fewer notable chancellors and marked an era of relative peace, prosperity, and though the Republic's greatest threat was not gone. It had just gone underground, where it would grow as a phantom for thousands of years, biding its time, and when unleashed would become the very undoing of the Republic.
Anwis Edicus served as a Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic around 700 BBY during a period marked by one of the deadliest crises in galactic history. His tenure coincided with the outbreak of the Death Seed Plague, a catastrophic pandemic that claimed millions of lives across the galaxy. The crisis was ultimately brought to an end when the parasitic Drox responsible for the disease were contained and quarantined on the planet Nam Cororius, an outcome in which Edicus played a significant role. Long after his death, Edicus's legacy endured as a symbol of decisive leadership in a time of existential threat. In the final decades of the Republic, he was honored through the naming of the Quat Systems Engineering's Edicus-class planetary shuttle, developed prior to the Clone Wars. In 22 BBY, he was further commemorated during a Biscuit Baron's Heroes of the Republic promotion, which celebrated notable figures from Republic history. Holocubes bearing his likeness were distributed with the company's products, and his inclusion, publicized through the HoloNet news by Tag Company CEO Roridan Temquill, reflected the lasting respect accorded to a chancellor remembered for helping guide the galaxy through plague and survival.
Ixes Valorum was a prominent member of the influential Valorum family of Coruscant, rising from senator to Supreme Chancellor sometime before 62 BBY. His candidacy for the chancellorship was first advanced at one of the exclusive annual gatherings on the Sojourn Moon, hosted by Kar Damask, signaling his acceptance among the Republic's political elite. Valorum's tenure was noted not only for governance, but for a distinctive sense of personal style, a flair not seen again until the later chancellorship of Thoris Daris. In a quieter but lasting distinction, Ixes Valorum became the final Supreme Chancellor to deliver a formal State of the Republic address before the rise of Chancellor Palpatine, marking the end of an older political tradition.
Vela Pesivus was a female Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic whose tenure lasted until 60 BBY and was widely remarked upon for its lack of personal or political flair. Her time in office was marked less by grand initiatives than by administrative missteps, most notably her appointment of Gideon Praji as Minister of Finance. Because Praji simultaneously served as executive chair of the Bank of the Core, and the decision drew immediate accusations of conflict of interest, prompting sharp holo media criticism and a Senate inquiry that forced his resignation only days later. Despite the unremarkable nature of her chancellorship, Pesivus was later folded into the Republic's curated historical memory. During the Separatist crisis, the Biscuit Baron chain released commemorative holocubes bearing her likeness as part of its Quick Snack and Quick Snack Light promotions intended to bolster patriotism and public awareness of past Republic leaders.
Thoris Daris was a human male from Korrilag who served as Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic from 60 to 52 BBY, succeeding Vela Pesivus during the Republic's final, increasingly decadent decades. His tenure was marked less by political reform than by personal excess. Daris became infamous as an incorrigible womanizer and an avid patron of sport, opera, high cuisine, and legitimate gambling. Though often distracted by indulgence, he still exercised the authority of his office, most notably in 57 BBY, when, at the request of Seswena Sector Senator Brashir, he appointed Ranulph Tarkin as Governor General of the sector. Daris was ultimately succeeded by Frix, but his legacy endured in a less flattering light. In hindsight, many citizens would later fault Daris for helping foster the culture of extravagance and complacency that weakened the Republic in the years leading up to the rise of the Galactic Empire.
Frix served as Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic during a period of deepening institutional decay. His tenure, followed by those of Kalpana and later Finis Valorum, did little to halt the Republic's slide into stagnation, as entrenched bureaucracy and widespread political corruption were allowed to persist unchecked. Long before his elevation, Frix's rise had been anticipated in elite circles. During a meeting on Sereno, Count Dooku informed Hugo Damask, secretly the Sith Lord Darth Plagueis, that Frix would succeed the sitting Chancellor. That prediction ultimately came to pass, and Frix's chancellorship became another link in the chain of ineffective leadership that weakened the Republic on the eve of its final crisis.
Kalpana was a male politician from the influential Kalpana family who served as Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic prior to Finis Valorum, during a period when ambition and spectacle often outweighed prudence. Closely allied with House Valorum, his administration oversaw several of the Senate's most grandiose initiatives, including construction of the Katana fleet, an enormous undertaking that ended in catastrophe when the fleet was lost on its maiden voyage. That same era was further destabilized by the stark hyperspace war in the Troikan system, adding to the sense of disorder that characterized his tenure. Finis Valorum served as in Kalpana's administration, while still a senator, gaining experience within a government already strained by corruption and overreach. During this time, Valorum traveled aboard an Atticus-class planetary shuttle that had been secretly bugged by Senator Palpatine of Naboo. A quiet example of the intrigue and surveillance that had become commonplace in Republic politics. In 44 BBY, Kalpana received a request from Governor Sontag of Bandamir, asking that Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn be dispatched to represent the Order in a dispute involving the Off-World Mining Corporation. Unbeknownst to the Chancellor, the message was a forgery created by the Dark Jedi Xanatos, intending to draw Jinn into a carefully laid trap. By the end of Kalpana's chancellorship, marked by the loss of the Katana fleet and the outbreak of the Stark Hyperspace War, the Republic was left weakened and increasingly vulnerable, conditions that would soon define the final years of the Old Republic.
Finis Valorum was the penultimate Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic, a well-intentioned but politically weakened leader whose tenure was crippled by entrenched bureaucracy, corruption, and procedural paralysis. Though personally committed to reform, Valorum lacked the authority to overcome powerful special interests and a gridlocked Senate, leaving the Republic increasingly ineffective in the face of rising crises. His inability to act decisively ultimately led to a vote of no confidence, marking the symbolic end of the Old Republic's capacity to govern itself.
Sheev Palpatine, a human male from Naboo, rose from senator to Supreme Chancellor by carefully exploiting the Republic's decay, presenting himself as a calm and reasonable reformer amid chaos. Publicly, he positioned himself as a servant of democracy and stability. In secret, he was orchestrating galactic conflict to concentrate power in his own hands. Through manipulation, war, and emergency authority, Palpatine engineered the Republic's transformation into the Galactic Empire, bringing a multi-millennial democratic system to an end.
Now a word from our sponsors.
Blastech Martian. For centuries, we have built the firepower that has kept the galaxy free. From our state-of-the-art Liberty missiles to democracy blaster cannons, we have rained liberty down on countless worlds.
We interrupt this program with an urgent HoloNet news report. The Republic has officially been reorganized into the First Galactic Empire. We now return to our regular programming.
New from Blastech Martian. The new and improved Justice missiles and secure Galaxy blaster cannons are here to rain safety down on countless worlds. Blastech Martian. Where there is war, there is a way to make credits. Welcome aboard the Millennial Falcon. This is Christian.
And this is Jordan.
We are still currently rummaging through the archives of the Coruscant Library, updating our history lessons on the great leaders of the Republic.
There's a lot to read, for sure. But before we get too deep into this pile of books, let's first thank all of our supporters of the show. You guys help keep this bucket of bolts flying. That is all of our Patreon members. And if you want to become a Patreon member, $3 USD a month. I mean, half the price of a cup of coffee these days. Am I right? You can do that, $3 a month, and you get access to all the bonus episodes. The $5 tier, the Jedi Knight tier, and you get access not only to all the bonus episodes, but the ad-free episodes as well. So no annoying ad interruptions. We also do single episode buys on Patreon as well. So that's patreon.com/StarLords. We also accept magic internet money, Bitcoin. If you want to support us that way, single donations to PayPal, starlordspodcast@gmail.com. And we sell merch on Redbubble. All that stuff is in the link of this show. And if you can't support monetarily, please stop listening to this. I never want to hear
Turn
from
it
you
off.
again.
Delete every record.
You greedy. No, I'm just kidding. Another way you can help us, if not monetarily, a huge help is rating and reviewing the show, especially you Apple listeners, device listeners. Make sure to really rate and review on Apple. That really helps us out. But anywhere helps us well. Wherever you listen to podcasts, please rate and review the show, and share us with anyone you think might enjoy the show or any groups you're in. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, and we're also in Discord. And all those links will also be in the description. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, any business inquiries especially, send that over to starlordspodcast@gmail.com. And guys, don't forget, send us your collections, fan fictions, headcanon, in-universe ads, any corrections or comments on any episode at all. We love to hear it. We love to hear from the community, from you, the people, because we love democracy. We love this republic. Don't we, Christian?
Yes. I'm always a servant of freedom.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about the great chancellors of the past. Really quick, just want to give a shout out to Supreme Chancellor Sidrona. He appears in the Tales of the Jedi comics, so we actually have a visual representation of him. And he is the leader during the crisis with Ulic, Droma, and Exar, which we will come back around to eventually in future episodes. Just wanted to briefly mention that his species is not explicitly identified, but he does look something like Cthulhu from Lovecraftian mythology. So just wanted to give him a little shout out.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird, I don't know if they're coincidences or connections with some
or
of these
inspirations.
yes. Chancellors that what
are they really saying?
Yeah.
Our politicians' Lovecraftian horrors beyond our comprehension.
I personally just thought all the chancellors were just going to be pure lizard people. Like
they all end up being Trandoshans for some
reason.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, political jokes aside, another notable chancellor. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start with who was your favorite in this.
Oh, who is my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh man. I kind of like the first Valorum. What was his name? I can't remember. I like the idea of like establishing a dynasty, and a great house,
which is strange for a republic. But yes,
yeah.
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, I believe it's Tarsus Valorum.
Yeah, Tarsus Valorum. I do. It just like adds extra layers to the story, some nice texture to the story, right? When you have like these storied houses, and I mean, you gotta love Chancellor Palpatine.
Oh, he's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
You just kind of stole my answer. I was gonna say the exact same for other reasons, and I'll dig more into Tarsus Valorum.
Well, give me your reasons why.
I'll dig into it in a second.
Okay.
Honorary runner-up would be any Jedi chancellors, which is obviously not in the spirit of the Republic, but I think it's very cool when they have dual authority. And there are Jedi
like
Supreme
Pope
Chancellors.
and King.
Yeah, exactly. Launch a little Jedi crusade here and there. Even though we did have the Pontifexes earlier too. But anyways, going back to Tarsus Valorum. I like him because of his reforms. I do like the whole noble house idea. Again, strange for a republic, but cool in like ancient history types when you have like Caesar or you have these like great dynasties like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Other cool things about Tarsus specifically, and even the Rusan Reformations broadly, which is what he's known for. So the Rusan Reformations kind of like split Republic history into like the very ancient and the more modern, which is hopefully what we conveyed in this episode. And it's important because it's like more so becomes a Republic that you start to recognize from the movies, and it kind of creates this demarcation point of, okay, we're demilitarizing the world order is going to look something like what you recognize in episode 1.
Yeah.
And that's kind of reflective of things like, it's almost like a reverse Marian reforms from Roman times where the emperor kind of reconsolidated the military and made it like more of a strong military. In this case, we're like demilitarizing. It's almost like the post-war consensus of, okay, turn in all your ships, turn in all your fleets.
Yeah, right.
And it goes deeper than this, because this is where it gets interesting. It's like, did he weaken the Republic by democratizing the Republic? By demilitarizing the Republic, did he actually sow the seeds unintentionally for its eventual decay and downfall? Is one question, right? Like,
right.
Of course, if you want peace, I'm of the camp, if you want peace, you have to prepare for war. But
like
imagine if
strength,
imagine if the United States tomorrow turned in all its Navy vessels, gave up its entire military industrial complex for good or ill, what that would look like for the future of America and the world order, right? What forces would subsume that power vacuum? How would that change things, right? Like, it's an interesting parallel question, right?
Yeah, there'd be definitely a lot of competition in different regions of the world to fill that vacuum.
Certainly.
And it would turn into wars for sure.
Exactly. Right. So would that lead to more conflict or less conflict? Like, these are, and I'm not trying to skew the conversation one or the other. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, it is an interesting situation where he does this really noble thing where he's like, okay, I'm divesting power from these big institutions like the Jedi, like my office, and giving it back to the people, to the Senate.
Yeah.
But by the same token, kind of that's where you see the beginning of the decay.
It is true. There is kind of also a problem that all kings and emperors face, is the threat of revolution.
Yeah.
And by democratizing it, you can sort of subdue that threat a little bit, right? Like, you can sort of make people a little bit happier so that that revolutionary fervor doesn't fester. And I think that can often be like a motivation to give more power to like civil institutions, as opposed to like having it all inside of an executive.
Certainly, yeah, and that's another aspect of it too, right? Like, in theory, could there have been, if the Rousseau Reformations didn't happen, could there have been a whole new revolutionary war that would have happened within the Republic in 1,000 years, anyways, right? And overthrown the Republic under a different regime. That's actually kind of an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It would be interesting to see like almost like a workers,
Stalinist like empire.
Yeah, but like a bunch of Sith leading it, right? Like,
yeah.
I
mean, Sith ideology would find whatever avenue to take power, right?
Well, what is it? The Khan's Brotherhood of Darkness or whatever, Dark Brotherhood. I can't remember which way.
Brotherhood of Darkness.
Yeah, Brotherhood of Darkness is very kind of egalitarian in that way, so almost communist.
Yeah,
but,
that's a very interesting alternative history. We could write a Star Wars Tales about it.
Yeah, we should totally.
Yeah. Kind of going back to Valorum too. It also kind of marks in Star Wars history a kind of point where the Republic sees itself as a continuation. Like, from the Rousseau Reformation forward, they see themselves as the modern Republic. So there's a lot of like points where characters say things like, there hasn't been war for 1,000 years. That's obviously not true, because we know of all these conflicts that actually happened in the past of the Republic, but also like the wars, the flare-ups that happen in this, what I'll call the Pax Republica, which we'll do a future episode on soon, is kind of this like more peaceful, like a long period of 1,000 years where there is broad peace. Yes, there are small conflicts and flare-ups like you'll see with the Stark Hyperspace Wars that we'll also cover. But at the same time, in galactic history, it's never been so peaceful. Yeah. Shortly after the Rousseau Reformations, where before that you had these constant wars with like the Alsacian conflicts, the Sith conflicts, the Mandalorian conflicts. It's just constant state of war, which makes sense for a franchise called Star Wars. But you do have this peaceful period that then ultimately leads to this decadence, decline, and corruption, and then eventual fall. And the Clone Wars kicks off, and there you have it. But this in universe, the Rousseau Reformations is kind of seen as that timeline of the continuous Republic lasting.
Yeah.
The other kind of comparisons too, I believe, from the authors was describing Tarsus Valorum kind of like akin to Solon from Athens, and kind of laying down like democracy, and just kind of being like an overall like what's the word I'm looking for?
Like a founding father?
Yeah, like a founding father slash like reformer is the word I'm
Okay.
looking for, right? Like kind of, like I said, building the democracy as it stood and as it stands. And he would probably be looked back on, and probably why the Valorum family name has so much clout is looked on with this very high ideal of what he represented and what he brought to the galaxy. And then you have that decline kind of mirroring more or less something akin to the fall of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Or at least, again, I've talked about this before, the kind of the mythologized version of the fall of the Roman Empire, which you see through like the decadence and corruption of the following series of leaders. Another brief chancellor, kind of moving off from the Valorum podcast that we've become, is Chancellor Frix, who, just a quick little fun character delineation, is that his name is a nod to the pilot Grizz Frix, who was a rebel pilot in Return of the Jedi. And that the author kind of imagined that the two characters might be related, but he didn't explicitly say so. He's like, this would be a cool, interesting little tidbit I'll drop in there.
Or maybe it's just a very common name like Smith or Anderson.
Equally possible. It is kind of, I'm of two minds. It's kind of cool to have like a character who's linked to like this great past character.
Yeah.
But then also like he's just a rebel pilot in the future.
It's just a normal person.
Yeah. Now, flip side to that is that it does always lead to that small galaxy syndrome that Star Wars often suffers from, where like everyone's related. Even the fact, so ever since they named Finis Valorum as the last chancellor you see in episode 1, this whole Valorum dynasty kind of emerged from that. And again, it's like, okay, what are the chances on the scale of the Republic that you have Valorum's reelected constantly out of this noble house? Now, you can say that's actually very possible because you have like a political class and a political family that's bred for this, right? And you see that in real life too. Oftentimes, power precedes more power. But the reverse of that would be like, in a galaxy of trillions, what are the chances that this Valorum name keeps popping up so frequently?
Well, I do feel like, like you said, I do feel like these families get sort of cemented into the power structure and the elites.
Certainly,
where it's hard to dislodge them. The only thing I will say with like sort of retroactively creating this Valorum lore is you would almost think that if the Valorum name is like such a household name, that Palpatine would maybe have some kind of motivation for taking the whole Valorum house down, but like there's nothing there. There's no motivation like that we know of.
There actually is a hint of it.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a comic series that touches on it.
Okay, but not in the films. I mean,
no, not, you would never know in the films. But yeah, and it is kind of cool that the end of the Republic, from the Rusan Reformations to its fall, is kind of bookended by Valorums, right?
Yeah. It's like not just the fall of the Empire, but the collapse of the dynasty as well.
Yeah, the House of Valorum. Yes. Palpatine does target there exactly for those reasons. They are powerful and an influential family.
Yeah,
he will target Finis, which we like. There's enough on Finis Valorum to write his own episode.
Okay, fair enough.
So we'll definitely do a deep dive then. But just a little teaser.
Okay, I thought we weren't doing a Valorum episode.
Get it all out now.
One little kind of quick aside. I noticed with Dorian Generis, he was sort of a fairly ineffective lame duck chancellor, but was remembered with like a lot of sympathy and fondness. Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of like a Jimmy Carter presidency. Like Jimmy Carter is always viewed as like a good man and very fondly, but when he was president, he wasn't viewed very fondly. Like he became quite unpopular when he was president. But it is sort of funny that those, I don't know if that was the
intentional or not,
but you do kind of see that in real world where there are people that you look back at them like a political person. Yeah. No, they weren't that bad, but like during the time it was like
they are the spawn of Satan.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, I just a little aside there. All right, with all that, we did have a comment from one of our Patreon members. So if you want to be a Patreon member, don't forget to go to patreon.com/StarLords and sign up. Anyways, enough with the shameless plugs here. So this is from Ian, and this is in reference to the last episode 125, the first Supreme Chancellor episode that we did. So Ian says, enjoyed the episode. I know you guys apologize for it being dry, but I'm a political junkie and I like learning about the earliest history of the Republic. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad someone appreciates it.
We have someone listening that cares.
Yeah. So he just added this comment that he wanted to bring up, and maybe you had some thoughts, Christian. He says, by the way, Diocletian was a proto-socialist. Just something to keep in mind. There's a reason leftist historians in particular think he's one of the greatest Roman emperors. So.
Yeah, I did kind of walk back my fanboyism of Diocletian, even in that episode. He did opt for more state control of the economy and everything like that. But again, when you're dealing with an empire, is that like so unprecedented? I don't know. I would argue that he did. His methods are probably not something you'd want to replicate, but he did manage to keep the empire alive at the very least, long enough to give up his place and stabilize it when it was in a time of like intense crises. And then, of course, you had the greatest emperor, Constantine, take over shortly after. So even by virtue of paving the path for the greatest emperor, I'll defend those points there. Obviously, other runners-up like Caesar himself, who instituted the empire, who would be a Palpatine-esque figure in modern history. Caesar is funny. I hate to go off on this other tangent, but Caesar's kind of funny in the way that he is in modern times viewed with like, he plays a Palpatine figure. He took the Republic and turned it into an empire.
Yeah.
But the narrative that we kind of appreciate of Caesar is that of heroism, right? Like he's looked up to as like a great political leader, which is kind of funny.
Great man of history.
Right.
Yeah.
Just in the sense of like, he is the Palpatine figure of real life, but that's just a small aside. Anyways.
I mean, Diocletian too, perhaps like a lot of socialist policies, again, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but they come in to try and avoid revolution, because a revolution means a bunch of people come in and decapitate you and your blood runs in the streets, right? As an emperor. So there can always be motivations to institute like more socialist policies, and often it's just to like avert a revolution, especially in poor economic times. And that is absolutely no defense of socialism, because I'm not a socialist. But I understand the conditions in which socialism
and that's why
ripens.
I'm moving away from the label of socialist with him specifically, because again, like, is state control really so strange for an empire of Rome, right? Like,
and it was just, I don't know. I think they had different conceptions of things back then too. It's hard to look into antiquity and like sort of have that same worldview or paradigm that we do. But
certainly.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks Ian for the comment. That's definitely a good discussion point.
Yeah. Hopefully you listen to this episode too. Definitely fire back if you have other opinions. Though I love talking Roman. I love talking
keep bringing
Star
up
Wars,
the Roman emperors.
So, either or.
But with that, guys, make sure to check us out on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, X. Also jump in on the Discord. And don't forget to rate and review the show. Thanks again for listening. We'll check in next time.